you for joining us tonight. I'm Quentin Smith. The FBI is now in charge of the investigation into the shooting at Naval Air Station Pensacola by a Saudi Arabian national. As CBS's David Becknall reports, the Bureau wants to know if this was an act of terrorism, and family members, they just want to know why.
It was a somber ceremony. The bodies of the 3 fallen service members arrived at Dover Air Force Base in Delaware last night, where a dignified transfer took place. The U.S. Navy identified the men as 23-year-old Ensign Joshua Watson, 21-year-old Airman Apprentice Cameron Walters, and 19-year-old Airman Mohammed Haytham. Haytham followed his mother's footsteps into the Navy. This is his mother, Evelyn Brady.
I love you. I love you. I am so very proud.
Tonight, the FBI confirmed that the shooter, 21-year-old Mohammed al-Shamrani, a member of the Royal Saudi Air Force, was active on social media. Law enforcement is still looking for a motive. Barely 2 hours before the shooting spree, someone matching al-Shamrani's identity posted this on Twitter. "Oh, American people, I hate you, because every day you supporting funding and committing crimes not only against Muslims, but also humanity." The Associated Press has reported that the shooter held a dinner party days earlier where he watched mass shooting videos with 3 other Saudi students. The FBI says al-Shamrani carried out the shooting with a legally purchased 9mm handgun. Florida Governor Ron DeSantis wants the federal government to close loopholes.
The Second Amendment applies so that we, the American people, can keep and bear arms. It does not apply to Saudi Arabians.
Investigators are looking to see if the shooter was radicalized during a trip home to Saudi Arabia last year. The Associated Press reports days before the attack in Florida, the gunman went to Manhattan, visiting places like the Rockefeller Center Christmas tree. There is no evidence tonight to suggest he was planning an attack there.
Ensign Joshua Caleb Watson, one of the 3 victims, was a graduate of Enterprise High School in Clark County. The accused Parkland, Florida high school shooter was back in court today. Nicholas Cruz is charged with 17 counts of murder for allegedly shooting dead 14 students and 3 staff members at Marjorie Stoneman Douglas High School in Parkland on Valentine's Day back in 2018. A trial date is expected to be set, but Cruz's lawyers are asking the Broward County judge for more time to prepare. Broward County Judge Elizabeth Scherer called for recess on Tuesday. Curtis Flowers will be heading back to a courthouse in Winona. Flowers faces a bail hearing at the Montgomery County Courthouse next Monday, the 16th. Circuit Judge Joseph Loper had announced last week that Flowers' hearing would take place in another county, but Loper had a schedule change and the hearing was moved to Montgomery County. And you may remember, Flowers has been tried 6 times for murder and the shooting deaths of 4 people at Tardy Furniture Store in Winona back in 1996. 2 of those trials ended in mistrial, and his 4 convictions have been overturned. His most recent conviction was overturned by the U.S. Supreme Court on grounds that African Americans were unfairly kept off of the jury. And here at home, a registered sex offender from Prentiss County finds himself in jail on new charges. Prentiss County deputies have arrested Terry Jean Smith of Marietta for possession of child pornography. Now, Smith, who you see right here, is a registered sex offender and is also facing charges in Lee County for failing to register there. His bond is set at $75,000. Smith's case will be presented to the next Prentiss County grand jury. Experts say law enforcement and first responders work in extremely high-stress environments, and sometimes that stress can boil over into their personal lives. Our Cash Matlock speaks with an area sheriff on finding a common ground and has the story.
Winston County Sheriff Jason Pugh says just like any job, law enforcement officers deal with mental and physical stress.
Some people can deal with stress better than other people can deal with stress, and some people need help coping with stress.
The difference is, if not properly taken care of, officers can end up carrying that stress with them for years.
You know, we can bring in a counselor from our insurance agency, and we have offered that several times with traumatic incidents that happened.
Pugh says it's tough to get members of law enforcement to seek out the help they may need.
The biggest problem is getting your officer to say, yes, I have a problem. It's rare for them to do that. We have offered grief counseling to the whole department after a disaster in the county. Not a soul took us up on it.
Wendy Woods has been a counselor for 23 years. She agrees that it can be hard to get first responders to share their feelings at first.
It can be very difficult for an individual who works in law enforcement or first responders to open up, because the nature of their job is to do the job and move on to the next one, and so that you don't spend much time reveling or talking or thinking about that incident.
Sometimes the stress can be too much, and in some cases lead to domestic violence. Pugh says any officer in the state who's convicted of domestic violence will automatically lose their job.
By federal law, he can no longer possess a firearm. And an officer that cannot possess a firearm is actually no good to anybody, obviously, so it is a showstopper.
Woods says the key to avoiding this is communication. She says it's crucial for an officer to have someone to talk to.
It doesn't always have to be a counselor. It can be a friend, it can be a pastor, but truly talking about the day-to-day stressors that you are experiencing can help to minimize the physiological impact that the stress can have on the body.
That was our Cash Matlock reporting there. Now, according to a study from the National Center for Women in Policing, domestic violence is 2 to 4 times more likely to occur in a police family.
It's still a very mild Monday evening out there. Temperatures well into the 60s. Now, we do have some showers and thunder showers out there. We've had some of that here in Louisville, Mississippi. You can see that with our live camera. And there's Louisville right here, stretching back up towards Starkville and Columbus. We have some good downpours, a little bit of lightning in that, but basically some heavy downpours. Also some additional rain back to the north, but we look back to the west. Look at this. We've got cold enough air to support a little bit of frozen precipitation back to the west, and we may see some of that by late tomorrow afternoon and tomorrow evening. At this point, we have no major impacts coming our way, it would appear. We'll have more on this, maybe a few isolated slick spots tomorrow night, but we'll have more on this, plus a look ahead at the next 7 days coming up.
Individuals, community groups, and businesses often feel unmet needs during the holiday season. But one company works all year long, giving thousands of dollars to several organizations. Our Stephanie Poole has more on what International Paper Company Foundation is doing in the community.
During this time of the year, the International Paper Company Foundation throws on their red Santa Claus hat to deliver gifts to some community organizations. Communications manager Kellum Kim says the foundation awarded $70,000 to area schools and nonprofit groups.
Our signature causes that we focus on are education, primarily around literacy, hunger, health and wellness, disaster relief, and then we have some extra for critical community needs. They look at the community, they look at the needs around the community. It's a great reach through the foundation that we're able to impact a lot of lives.
Lynn Brown with the Boys and Girls Club of Columbus says a $2,000 gift is helping members grow.
This new fund that they've provided us allows us to bring our outside garden inside with some new age technology. We like to call it Tower Garden, where we're able to grow vegetables all year round inside of the clubhouse. Kids basically learn how to live a healthier lifestyle through, eating vegetables, exercise, and things of that nature.
And a grant to the Columbus Lowndes Public Library System is helping employees stay at the top of their game.
For us, it's just extremely beneficial because a lot of times budgets are tight, and we, like with this grant, we want to make sure that we're staying recertified.
How did you use this grant? How did it impact? How many lives did you touch? What was the real effect that this money had on these people's lives? And we just hear stories in general about the way that the funds were used and the difference that was made in the community.
That was our Stephanie Poole reporting there. For more information about the grant or how you can apply, just visit our website at WCBI.com. And speaking of visiting our website, Keith, who was nominated for tonight's Furcast?
Yeah, you know what? You can go to our website, Quentin, and submit your favorite pet for our Furcast. And tonight we've got Chico, and it looks like we've got an expression like, what's up with the weather tomorrow? We've got temperatures that will start out in the 40s and 50s, cooling into the 30s later on in the day, and a shot at some wintry precipitation. We'll talk about it up next.
WCBI First Alert AccuWeather Forecast with Chief Meteorologist Keith Gibson.
10:13 here on our Monday evening. We do have some wet weather developing out there. Let's take a live view in downtown Columbus. Still dry, but we do have some showers coming your way. This is a live look at our radars, rating pretty good in Louisville and Winston County up towards Starkville, Oktibbeha County now just encroaching upon the Columbus area right now. There have been a few lightning strikes in this. A lot of this is just some heavier downpour action, and we're looking at some rain from Water Valley to Oxford up towards New Albany. And we've had some rain up there near Boonville and Corinth. That's what's going on right now. We have a cold front just coming out into the region, already dropping into the 50s in Memphis and Little Rock, Oklahoma City 34. Kansas City 18, 29 in St. Louis. Now, we've been talking about this all day long. A chance for a little bit of frozen precipitation tomorrow, and the best chance for accumulation up here where we've highlighted this in the light blue, basically north of Columbus and Starkville. We could see a few flakes farther south, but this is the best chance for maybe a coating or a little bit more so. The ground is just so terribly warm right now. It's so very toasty out there for December, widespread 60s. So we could see some icy spots on bridges as the road surface temperature cools the bridge deck down below freezing tomorrow evening. But the ground is just going to be way too warm here for any sizable impacts here. So here's Futurecast, 3 o'clock tomorrow afternoon, and we are superimposing the future road surface temperatures on it. And notice how those are still well above freezing, even into the evening hours, where we could see a burst of some big, fat, wet snowflakes if things come together perfectly. So we may see some beautiful flakes fall from the sky. But as far as impacts down here at the ground, I just think it's going to be way too warm here. Outside of maybe some bridge deck icing that we could get as temperatures cool on down later in the night. So we'll reevaluate things later tonight and tomorrow. Jacob will have the very latest on sunrise, but showers will continue later tonight and tomorrow. And there's that best chance for some of that mix, especially north of 82 tomorrow afternoon and evening. Most of the rain and frozen stuff should be done by midnight tomorrow night. We'll see a lot of sunshine there as we get into our Wednesday. Now, there will be another system later this week that will move up the eastern seaboard. We may see a few showers around here on Friday, but for the most part, not a lot of action with that one. There could be some additional rain next week, but we'll just fine-tune things, Quentin, as we get into our day Tuesday. We do know temperatures now are in the 60s when you wake up. Probably 50s and 40s, and then 30s tomorrow afternoon. So jackets needed, maybe an umbrella. It will be a raw day on Tuesday.
I think I jinxed myself, Keith. I was just saying, like, how it doesn't feel like typical December weather.
Mother Nature doesn't know what's going on right now.
She does her own thing, doesn't she?
She makes it up.
She don't listen to nobody.
She does not.
Thanks so much, Keith. Well, it may be Christmas season, but it's also flu season. We'll have what you need to know to fight it when we come back.
WCBI News at 10 with Quentin Smith.
Welcome back. The weather is turning colder, which means the sniffles are starting, and so is the spread of germs. We're talking about the flu tonight in our Health Talk with the Baptist.
Hi, I'm Dr. Lee Richardson, a physician in the emergency room at Baptist Memorial Hospital, Golden Triangle. Tonight I would like to talk to you about influenza, more commonly known as the flu. The flu is a contagious respiratory illness caused by influenza viruses that infect the nose, throat, and lungs. It can cause mild to severe illness and at times can lead to death. Influenza symptoms can include fever, cough, sore throat, runny or stuffy nose, body aches, headache, chills, and fatigue. Some people may have vomiting and diarrhea, though this is more common in children than in adults. Most experts believe that flu viruses spread by droplets made when people with the flu cough, sneeze, or talk. These droplets can land in the mouths or nose of people who are nearby. Less often, a person might also get flu by touching a surface or object that has flu virus on it and then touching their own mouth, eyes, or possibly their nose. Flu is unpredictable, and how severe it is can vary widely from one season to the next and even from one part of the country to another. Older people, young children, pregnant women, and people with certain health conditions such as asthma, diabetes, or heart disease are at greater risk for serious complications if they get the flu. Join us next time for Health Talk with Baptist when we will discuss the single best way to avoid getting the flu vaccination.
Mail your topic suggestions to healthtalk@wcbi.com. Health Talk has been brought to you by Baptist Memorial Hospital, Golden Triangle.
A new era of Ole Miss football is officially underway. More from Lane Kiffin's first day in Oxford coming up next in sports.
With Tom Ebel.
Ole Miss's search for a head football coach lasted 1 week, as Keith Carter and the athletic administration believe they've hit a home run. Lane Kiffin returns to the SEC, hoping his experiences from the past return Rebel football to a contender in the SEC. Courtney Robb has more from a big day in Oxford.
When Ole Miss Athletic Director Keith Carter set out to look for the next leader of Ole Miss football, Carter looked for a few things: a history of passion, success, as well as the ability to walk into any room and completely take command of it. If you saw Lane Kiffin get off the Ole Miss jet the other night, you would have seen just that. Kiffin stepping off of that plane and taking over the tarmac, kissing babies, greeting fans, even crashing a child's birthday party. In terms of history of experience and success, Kiffin has already spent a few seasons in the SEC. Back in 2009, Kiffin served as the head coach of the Tennessee Volunteers just for one season before later moving on and coaching at USC for 4 seasons. After that stint, he went and coached under one of the best in the SEC, Alabama head coach Nick Saban. Kiffin serving as Saban's offensive coordinator for 3 seasons, then landing a job as Florida Atlantic's head coach. During his time with FAU, acquiring 2 CUSA championships. But Kiffin said that he remembered his time at Alabama and that there was something about that team that was the only team that could beat the Crimson Tide.
I remember losing here at Alabama, you know, and like I said, we lost 2 regular season games in 3 years, both to the same team. And, you know, my brother Chris was here, and so I also spent part of a summer here with the family at Chris's house and went around and saw the areas and the people and said, that's a special place. You know, that's a really neat place to live. And you can win there, because I saw it. No one else was beating us. And so, you know, I always kind of said, you know, that's a premier job that at times has performed like that and then times hasn't. You know, that's partly why we're here today. So it's our job to bring it back to where it's been before.
If you're going to make a change, you got to get the next one right, and there's a lot of pressure to do that, and I couldn't be more happy with our choice, and I think we got it right.
Coach Kiffin signing on to a 4-year deal through 2023 with Ole Miss, agreeing to that deal for $16.2 million. Next up, Kiffin saying, is just meeting with his new team as well as making some decisions on who his assistant coaches may be. Reporting in Oxford, Courtney Robb, WCBI Sports.
Great job reporting from Courtney there. The AP naming its All-SEC team for the 2019 season. A pair of Bulldogs on the list. Running back Kylan Hill named to the first team and defensive end Chauncey Rivers to the second team. Hill becomes the first running back at Mississippi State to be named first team All-SEC since Anthony Boobie Dixon in 2009. Alabama sets the mark in terms of selections, a league-high 11 Alabama Crimson Tide football players chosen to the All-SEC team. A 2A football program is officially on the market for a head football coach. WCBI has learned Manatee head coach TJ Seago has resigned from his position as head football coach. Seago spent 5 years as the head coach, leading the Mustangs to 2 postseason appearances and was the defensive coordinator for 2 seasons prior. Manatee finished 2-8 in the 2019 season. A pair of Caledonia baseball players signed with EMCC. Justin Black and Tony Brooks will continue their careers with the Lions. Black and Brooks hope to lead the Feds to a deep playoff run come spring. So Quentin, baseball season all knocking on our door. We got basketball, football, anything you can imagine. I was actually just watching a minute ago Eli Manning attempting a comeback run against Philly on Monday Night Football.
So don't count them out just yet, huh?
No, not just yet.
One of Ole Miss's very own. Thanks so much, Tom. We'll have a last look at your forecast when we come back.
Downpours here in the Columbus area, a little bit of thunder and lightning out there too, but this is subsevere, just some good downpours and at times a little flash of lightning, some thunder. You can see the rain we have out there right now, but temperatures will be falling all night long, still in the 60s. We'll wake up to 40s and 50s by this time tomorrow night, probably in the 30s, and there could be a little bit of frozen precip late tomorrow evening and tomorrow night. No impacts really expected. Of course, Jacob has the latest tomorrow on sunrise, and then we just have some typical December 50s later this week.
So we got to bring out the big coats tomorrow.
A little bit.
Big coats and umbrellas, elbow.
Boots, whatever you got.
Galoshes.
Grab the bread.
It's that time of year.
No, let the bread stay on the shelves.
Have a good night, everyone.